How would you stop an invasion in Minecraft? But I'm not talking about the brainless type. They are real players. For over a decade, the 2b2t player base has tried to solve this question. But while there have been many incursions trying to stop a single wave of players, there was one group built with the sole purpose of answering this question once and for all. This is the story of 2b2t's Infinity Incursion. In summer 2019, the server faced a familiar crisis. New players flooded in, pushing the queue to its limits. And the 8th incursion failed in their attempt to stop the newcomers, after their leader, Jared 2013, lost interest. A player named Baki served as Jared's right-hand man at the time, and so he gave him full control to continue the effort. But Baki wasn't just going to revive the incursion, he had bigger goals in mind. Not content with a single event, he formed a new movement, calling it the Infinity Incursion. The group had a core of reliable members. They held everything together and organized the events. But compared to others, they were open and also supported the community side where everyone could join to participate in the projects. Overall, they totaled over 100 players, and Baki was about to put them to work. Back then, groups showed their presence with large Obsidian Sky symbols around spawn. But just another one? No. To assert their dominance, they decided to build the biggest one anyone had ever seen so far. They had proven their intent, but Baki knew symbols alone wouldn't be enough to bring down the queue. And so, the group started their first major project to stop the tide of new players. Operation Obsidian Sky was an attempt to darken the spawn area with an over 2000 by 2000 block ceiling. One thing was clear, they would need a lot of obsidian to complete this build. And since no automation was involved, every single block had to be placed by hand. This was tedious work, and it took them over a whole month to finish the build. In the end, the ceiling consisted of over 4 million obsidian. It plunged spawn into complete darkness, and let hostile mobs spawn all over the place. With the first obstacle in position, Infinity Incursion was just getting started. Baki wanted to set up an actual barrier for new players to overcome. After some deliberation, the group decided to repurpose the Great Spawn Trench. This old trench was built years ago and surrounded spawn on a 4000 by 4000 block basis. So, Operation Lava Curtain started and they got to work. The goal was to have lava flowing from build limit all the way down to bedrock, stopping any attempts to escape in its tracks. Over 80 people worked non-stop, placing 48,000 lava source blocks. They also encased them with 200,000 obsidian to avoid griefing and easy destruction. What would have taken other groups weeks was considered a small project for the Infinity Incursion, as they finished everything within just 10 days. This was an astounding feat, and afterwards the 2b2t community fondly nicknamed it the 10-day incursion. By the end of summer 2020, they had sealed spawn from above and around. But one final challenge remained, the ground itself. Operation Nether 2012 should be the final nail in the coffin for any new player joining the server. But the name was actually quite misleading, as the group around Baki didn't plan to flood the area in lava or anything like that. In fact, the opposite was true. They wanted to drown the entire spawn region in a giant water cube. But you know what 2b2t spawn looks like. They knew it wouldn't be easy. To even begin their actual project, an area of 1000 by 1000 blocks had to be cleared first. Bombing spawn with countless amounts of TNT, they found 2 illegally placed bedrock, which must have come from previous exploits. Well, they wouldn't get rid of these. But progress was steady, and after the entire area was excavated, construction could start. In order to make it perfect, they used a program created by one of their members, Iron Exception, to distinguish flowing water from source blocks. Having the whole build out of solid water would make it way harder to grief. It took them 1.5 months to finish the project. But in the end, they prevailed, placing over 250 million water source blocks in the process. Baki was happy. The Infinity Incursion had done the seemingly impossible. But while their builds made escaping spawn way harder than it was before, one thing was still uncertain. Would all of this actually discourage new players from queuing up? Or had the group just built another attraction they would love to check out?